Morning. Sometimes the program has to be switched a little. Save your applause. Thank you, Carol or Charlotte. But the most important thing is that we're all here, and I'm going to try the microphone today. I try not to usually because it serves as a distraction, and normally my voice is loud. We did sing last night for about 2 hours, and the best part about that was there were enough people there, and the acoustics were loud enough that nobody had to hear my voice sing for 2 hours. But Aaron did a really good job. He's a humble guy, but he'll tell you, he won't tell you. He did a wonderful job leading some of that last night. So thank you, Aaron. When I was a little bit younger in my walk, I first started reading the Bible and figuring out who this Jesus is. I started to get a little overconfident. Some would say cocky. Started to think that I knew more things than I actually did. So someone pulled me aside one day after a class and said, "Son, I'm going to give you 2 simple truths. Number 1, there's only been one perfect man to ever walk the earth. And 2, you ain't him." I agree. A few years later, when you fast forward to today, and I will let you in on another very important truth that I think that I've learned, and it's this. If you are living the way that you're supposed to live, if you are being a so-called Bible thumper, if you study the Bible and really understand what it says and have a unique and individual relationship with God, you're going to anger some people. And you know what? I say too bad. You can't please everybody anyway. I would rather please God and anger some people than please some people and anger God. In Deuteronomy 4:24, God is described as a jealous God, a consuming fire. That's where we are today. God will take notice. That is the lesson title. Last week, if you weren't here, we started a little bit. We took some morsels out of the book of Jonah. We're going to continue that today in a little bit. But first, there's been something that's really been on my mind and been heavy on my heart. And I want to go through a few slides with you. And this isn't to scare anyone or to signal anyone out. Now, sometimes I have to talk a lot to describe what's on the slide. Other times, it pretty much speaks for itself. If you can't see, I know that's very small. This is the percentage of Americans who are members of a church or other religious community. Now, I'm no genius, but I can tell you that it's been declining pretty steadily. This was I believe the Barna Group, between the years 2000 and, 2013, had done this study, and it's a little bit alarming for me to sit up here and tell you that, yeah, this is for all religions, but do you know, take a guess, what's the percentage of Americans who attend church on a regular basis? 20, less than 20%. 20. Now, I'm not 100% sure what a regular basis is, but it's probably what you think it is. It's got to be a couple times a month, maybe once a month. We can't even get 20% in America? That's pretty bad. Now, let me give you some other numbers. 92% of American families own at least one copy of the Bible. That's pretty good. But only 37% read it weekly. That's not good. 36% can name all 4 Gospels. More can name all 4 Beatles. 12%, this is great. 12% believe that Noah's wife was Joan of Arc. You get it? The Ark? Joan of Arc? Oh, man. Over 50% of graduating seniors thought that Sodom and Gomorrah were husband and wife. A considerable number of respondents thought that the Sermon on the Mount was preached by Billy Graham. I have nothing against Billy Graham. I'm pretty sure that wasn't him 2,000 years ago preaching those words. So you're probably saying, these poor non-Christians, what do they know? If they only came to church, if they only knew what we did, if they only studied the Bible, they'd be in great shape, right? Wrong. Let me tell you, it doesn't get much better with so-called Christians. Less than 20% of Christians had a biblical worldview in this study. That's terrible. 81% believe that you grow spiritually by following rules, like the Pharisees. 1/2 believe the Bible to be completely accurate in all of its principles. What? If you're telling me that you don't believe the Bible to be accurate, I don't know what to do with that information. 68% have heard of spiritual gifts. Only 1/3 can identify one spiritual gift that they possess. Finally, 34%, roughly 1/3, will say that there is such thing as absolute moral truth. Now, these are Christians we're talking about. It's embarrassing. Martin Luther King, and I quote, he said this, "There was a time when the church was very powerful, in the time when the early Christians rejoiced at being deemed worthy to suffer for what they believed. In those days, the church was not merely a thermometer that recorded the ideas and principles of popular opinion. It was a thermostat that transformed the mores of society. But the judgment of God is upon the church today as never before. If today's church does not recapture the sacrificial spirit of the early church, it will lose its authenticity, forfeit the loyalty of millions, and be dismissed as an irrelevant social club with no meaning for the 20th century." I will substitute 21st for 20th, but hopefully you get the point. Well, this is the reality we face, unfortunately. So many of us shuffle into churches, and I'm not talking about this particular church, churches in general, looking to see, what can I get out of it? I'm going to look the part, and I'm going to dress really well. You see, this is a really cool suit, so therefore, I'm ready to go to church. And I'm going to drive my car, and I'm going to get here early, so therefore, I'm ready to go to church. And my kids are going to behave really well when we get to church, therefore, I'm ready to get to church. So now that I'm here, feed me, preacher. Feed me, elders. Right? Is that our attitude here? I hope not. Because we need to replace that with, wow, what can I do to feed someone else? I mean, you heard the announcements. You've seen our bulletin. There are way too many people who have some serious needs in this congregation and from without. Forget about us being fed. It's what we can do to help them or to feed each other while we are here. Like Jonah, when we put ourselves first, we are fleeing from the Lord. So we'll continue with Jonah. What I'm going to say today is God will take notice. And it's not to scare anyone, but it's just to reiterate the fact that He is a sovereign God, and He's omnipotent, and He's omniscient, and He's omnipresent. He will take notice, like a toddler noticing a toy in a department store. God will take notice, like a woman recognizing her husband who just came home from war. God will take notice, like a sailor enduring a violent storm. God will take notice, which is precisely why we do perish. But it's also precisely why we put our hope in Jesus Christ, who of course cancels our death with His blood. So, we're back to Jonah. Last week, really all we discussed was Jonah, son of Amittai, was told by God to do what? To go preach to Nineveh and tell them to repent. And Jonah did exactly that, right? Oh no, he did the exact opposite. In fact, verse 3 said, "But Jonah ran away from the Lord and headed for Tarshish. He went down to Joppa, where he found a ship bound for that port. After paying the fare, he went aboard and sailed for Tarshish to flee from the Lord." He went way out of the way just to get out of his responsibility. So let's read the next 3 verses, and that's what we're going to focus on this morning. This is Jonah 1, 4 through 6. "Then the Lord sent a great wind on the sea, and such a violent storm arose that the ship threatened to break up. All the sailors were afraid, and each cried out to his own God. And they threw the cargo into the sea to lighten the ship. But Jonah had gone below deck, where he lay down and fell into a deep sleep. The captain went to him and said, "How can you sleep? Get up and call on your God. Maybe he will take notice of us so that we will not perish." Wow, that escalated kind of quickly, huh? And all of a sudden, we've got Jonah, who was doing everything in his power to get away from God. And now he's essentially being awakened by his captain to call on his own God. In other words, God said, "Go." We talked about that little word last week, that important word, go. Jonah said, "No, I don't think so." God said, "Okay, we'll have it your way." And notice, this storm didn't just happen. It wasn't like, well, there were some clouds in the sky, and then all of a sudden, no. What does it say? Then the Lord sent a great wind on the sea. See, God allowed this to happen. This was not an ordinary storm. I mean, people are freaking out. It's loud. They're breaking things. Calling on their own gods. Let's see, the ship is breaking in half, and chaos and tragedy. And what's Jonah doing? I think this is a good time to take a nap. What? Even the captain says, "What are you doing? How can you sleep during this time?" Does that remind us of something else? Where a certain group of people were traveling on the Sea of Galilee, and there was a storm similar to this. Who was on that ship and thought it was a good time for a nap? Jesus Christ, didn't he? Wow. So there are some similarities. At the risk of sounding blasphemous, there are some similarities between Jonah and Jesus. Jonah, he slept during the storm. Jesus sleeps during the storm. That's Mark 4:35 through 41. Jonah, well, others on the ship are panicking. And the same with Jesus. Others on the ship are panicking. Jonah had a mission that dangerously involved others. Jesus had a mission that very dangerously involved others, and still does today. In Jonah's situation, the sailors worried that Jonah has lost his mind. In Jesus' situation, the disciples, they lost their faith. And here's where it changes a little bit. Jonah is the son of Amittai. Jesus, well, he's the son of God. Jonah is on the run. Jesus Christ is in complete control. So what does the storm represent? Probably judgment. I think the storm represents judgment. And what about the ship? The ship itself represents our world. And it's funny, the soldiers, they're pagans also, aren't they? They're talking about their own God. So you've got Jonah, who does not want to go to Nineveh because they're pagans, and now he's placed on a ship with a bunch of pagans, a bunch of non-believers. Boy, what a coincidence, huh? Yeah, right. It's not an accident. And we talk about our own God. And you see that in here. I ask you, what is your own God? We all have our own God, don't we? Let me tell you, anything you place in front of your relationship with Jesus Christ, you're going to lose. Yeah, but Matt, it's really important that I make enough money to make this pay. Yeah, I know. But that's not your God. That's not your priority. Yeah, but I really want my kid to get to lead in the play. That's great. Don't prioritize that over God. Yeah, but, my mother said, I understand that. And those are important things. But do not prioritize those over God. Then all of a sudden, you're no better than them, and you're participating in what we call idol worship. And I think about church on a Sunday, kind of going back to those previous slides. What exactly is so important that keeps you from being here? Think about that. Again, I'm not picking on anyone here in particular. What is so important that keeps us from coming to church? What are we prioritizing? And I ask this because unfortunately now we have choices that we never used to have. Not too long ago, there was no way that sports leagues would schedule practice at 10:30 on a Sunday, right? Or theater groups would not have practice at 9:30 on a Sunday. Unfortunately, if we're part of those, our kids, and I'm thinking of a family from the previous church, we were a wonderful group of people, but we're always busy. And they hated having that choice. Now, at the same time, it still is a choice. Not an easy choice. Where is our heart? If we are not here, where are we? And what is keeping us from being here? And I get it. There are things that get in the way. I know Tom has a stomach thing going on. I'm glad he's not here today. Okay? But you know what I'm saying. And I understand life gets in the way, but it's not about pleasing kids. It's not about pleasing your parents. It's not about pleasing your kids. People. It's not about pleasing the deacons or pleasing the elders. Certainly not about pleasing the preacher. It's about pleasing the consuming fire. The jealous God. That is what this is about. As we move on with our text today, in verse 6, there's a little bit of irony. As they say, the captain tells Jonah, right, call on your God. And then he says, maybe he will notice us. I like that. Jonah's whole reason, and I alluded to this earlier, was going away from God. And now the captain's saying, you need to call on your God. The one I don't believe in, by the way. Funny how that works. So God commands Jonah to get up and go. And now the captain is commanding Jonah to get up and go. Get up and call on your God. And as a side note, it's fascinating to see that the captain's concern for his sailors compared to Jonah's lack of concern for the Ninevites. There's a whole lot here, and we just scratched the surface. Quick application. Colossians 3, 5, and 6, Paul says, put to death, therefore, whatever belongs to your earthly nature. Sexual immorality, impurity, lust, evil desires, and greed, which is idolatry. Because of these, the wrath of God is coming. Now, there's another translation that says, because of these, the wrath of God is coming on those who are disobedient. Okay, now with that in mind, Nineveh, very disobedient, so therefore, wouldn't God have wrath on them? That's probably what Jonah's thinking right now. Now, I wonder how Nineveh, you think they were aware of their sinful nature? Are we aware when we are I certainly hope so. Psalm 119, the longest psalm. Verse 136, streams of tears flow from my eyes, for your law is not obeyed. People, that's how we're supposed to feel when we sin. I'm not saying we're not going to sin, of course we are. But we cannot get complacent or comfortable with that. Actually, how we deal with sin says an awful lot about who we are. If you've ever been on a job interview, and I'm pretty sure everybody here has, what's the last question they ask you? Do you have any questions for us? Or maybe they just say, okay, well, don't call us, we'll call you. Hopefully not. Do you have any questions for us? Before I ended up at the Minnesota church, I did interview in a few churches, and similarly, before we ended up here, I talked to a few churches, and I always asked the same thing, and it was this. How does your church deal with sin? Now, obviously, no one's going to say, well, actually, Matt, we really like it. We encourage it. Of course not. But how do you deal with sin? Do we sweep it under the rug? What do we do? Do we help someone? Do we make it public? Do we meet privately with someone? How do we deal with sin? The reason I'm asking is, if we do nothing, God will do something, because God will take notice. But like Nineveh, sin separates us from the presence of God, the source of all joy, of all love, of all wisdom, of all knowledge, of good thing of any sort. God noticed Jonah. He noticed the sailors. He noticed Nineveh. He noticed the United States of America right now. And he notices you. But where does the gospel fit in here, Matt? Wasn't the gospel just another word for religion? No, it is not. Here's what religion is. We're going to do a lot of good things. We're going to write them down. We're going to put together a resume. We're going to give it to God. And then he owes us. The gospel is kind of the opposite. God does a whole lot of really good things for us. He puts a resume together, and then we owe him. Now, I'm not saying we owe good works. This is not a works-based religion. But it is faith that we owe. You see the difference? That is our universal word, and it's faith. Good works are not enough to find him. What does Paul say in Philippians 1:27? Whatever happens, conduct yourself in a manner worthy of the gospel of Christ. Okay, so we're talking about go. One of the things I want us to do is go.